everybody, welcome back to another Conversations, the conversational show where we talk about all the things where I don't think that we're having enough conversations about in the world. And we have been off for a little bit, but I'm excited. You guys got like 3 in the next week. So just get your boots on because we're having all of the conversations and you don't want to miss any of them. And I'm super excited. Leslie is joining us already saying she loves the topic. I haven't even revealed the topic, but you're reading the title of the event. But today we're talking about financial peace of mind. And you guys, I mean, this is my experience, and I think that there are a lot of people having these experiences, in that money is still something that a lot of people are uncomfortable talking about. And whether that is even just between like 2 people in a spousal relationship, whether that is about the money you're making in your business, wherever we talk about money, it's kind of just been one of those taboo topics for a really long time. And it was really interesting for me because when I met Marcia, who is my lovely special guest, who will introduce herself in a moment, one of the things, I just felt this like overwhelming sense of calm. And she was talking about finances, and I was like, this is weird. I've never experienced anything like this before. And so I'm very excited to have her as part of this conversation today, because you guys know me. I don't believe that we create progress in any arena that we want to create progress in unless we're in the conversation. And so here we are having this conversation for you guys today so that we can all start moving towards, I'm not going to have financial peace of mind by the end of this 45 minutes today, just so you guys know. It's about being in the conversation. So we're introducing you to what it might feel like to be in a financial conversation that doesn't feel stressful, that doesn't feel embarrassing, but actually feels just like a conversation between peeps. So we are here to do this. And Leslie has a really interesting perspective because she does a lot of work with our aging population. And I've actually experienced this with my grandparents right now, as they're like going into long-term care. They have a pension, but somehow the like long-term care facilities didn't pay attention to what average pensions are and all these things. And again, like this adds a level of stress to like, I just can't afford this. And there's so much scarcity that happens in the conversation. And oh my God, okay, I don't want to reveal too much before I introduce my special guest. So Marcia, can you tell us a little bit more about you and why you're so passionate about financial peace of mind?
Yes. Simple question, simple answer. Question. There we go. I like to keep things simple. I really do believe in the abundance in this world. Money has been complicated by so many people in so many ways, and we're not actually given a financial education anywhere along the way. I wasn't until I entered the industry. Thank God I did it when I was in my 30s, and I had a good introduction. And so I had a good knowledge and a good base, and I've built on that for many years. We won't do the math.
We're not here to do math. Even though we're talking about finances, this is not going to be a math session today, guys.
No, it will not be, because that's not simple. But it is simple. There are fundamental rules. There are fundamental, the way things work, that the average Canadian, and that's anyone, in the lower 80% of the income, which is, I'm going to guess, most of the people listening today and in the future, that it isn't that complicated, and you don't have to know everything. That's what your agent, your advisor, your trusted person, your financial professional is for. It's like, you don't have to know how to fix the car. You have to know where to take the car to get it fixed. That's true. You have to trust your mechanic. You have to trust your financial professional. And if you don't, there's other people that you can work with. There's so many good options. And I mean that. There's lots of good people doing what I do. And that's awesome for me, because I can only have so many clients. I think in an awesome way, because you need to really get to know your people, right? Yeah. And that's
I think that is a
being
critical component of what you mentioned a couple of times, which is trust, right? And I
Mhm.
think that it's funny that you use the mechanic as an example, because I have moved where I get my car serviced so many times because I can't get that feeling that you are actually trying to help me, right? Like I'm feeling like this is a business, you're trying to make money. And I think a lot of times, even when like my financial advisor works for my bank, right? And I'm like, how much of what you're telling me is advised by what I need versus advised by what the bank needs to sell, right? And I mean, I feel it's actually really sad to me because I very much love my financial advisor and she just moved into another role. And so I have this like new financial advisor and I don't have a relationship with her yet. So I don't know where that's going to go. But it's just like that trust principle is really important. And I think, Marcia, maybe we can start here. Is just that when it comes to money, you think about those people who just like put their money under their mattress because that's the most secure way to make sure nothing happens to it, right? But I think there's like a really deep well of maybe trust issues that we have when it comes to money. And so we first have to be able to know that that is true and explore for ourselves, like, what are our trust issues that I have with putting my trust in someone else to advise me on this in an area like I'll use myself as an example. I'm not an expert in financial planning, right? Like I would say that I'm pretty good at like not spending more money than I have. I never have done that. I'm very well, except I have a mortgage, right? So
Which
technically I do.
is I'm gonna pepper this with, and I use the word because it's just going to come up in conversation. There is 4 fundamentals for money. I'm going to tell you them what they are right now, and then they're going to pop up, and I'm like, see here. So, number 1 fundamental is cash flow, right? Like you mentioned earlier, you're not spending more than you're making. Okay, first fundamental piece. You gotta know what your cash flow is, and whether it's $50 extra a month or it's $500 a month extra a month, you got to know which side you're on, because you're on one or the other. That's it. Second piece is protecting that income, protecting that family if something's not happening to you. And that is one that is commonly known, but there's been so much predatory work that's been done there that that's where the trust comes in your person, because there's so many options that really can work for you. And that's not today's conversation. Number 3, sorry, can't count.
We already said this wasn't about math.
I have people for this, and I have a little chart that I can show you if you really. Number 3 is the time value of money. And that addresses the money under the mattress. Your money needs time to grow. Okay? Everyone's heard start early, $25 a month, whatever it is, it needs to grow. And the rule of 72 is how fast it will double based on your interest rate and time, right? It won't grow under the mattress, right? You're right, it won't also decrease, but to be in that market flow, the volatility is good and bad. And if you're not in it at all, then the inflation rate is going to take out all of your growth. So the time value of money works in your favor, and it works against you as well. And then number 4 is what I call sharing. And this is otherwise known as taxes. In a first world country, as both you and I are in Canada, you're going to pay some taxes. You're going to share your money. And how you do that is between you and your accountant, and your advisor will also work with you on that. But you're going to share some of it. And how and where you do that is, again, another topic for another day. But does that make sense? The 4 pieces that all work together, and you can't ignore any of them, but your finances are that simple. And anything you want to do with that other than that is called values. And that's where it becomes you. And that's why there's not just one law or one what to do.
Oh my gosh, okay, I'm writing down a whole bunch of things because there's a whole bunch of things that I want to explore here.
Go ahead.
Okay, so one of the words that you used was volatility, right? So when it comes to the time value of money, like if we invest, right? Like if we invest money, sometimes the market is up, sometimes the market is down. And at the end of the day, no one wants to have said like, I put $100,000 in here and now I have $5, right? Because the market, and there's different, like, I mean, even my financial planners and like a risk profile, and I am like mostly risk averse. So I have a very conservative portfolio, right? Like, and you can do things like that. But when you say the word volatility, to me, it's like very much the opposite of peace of mind, right? So if I was going to put volatility on a scale, it would like put peace of mind out of the picture. So what are some of the things that through conversation or through understanding that you know can help us kind of accept the risk of the volatility and still have financial peace of mind?
That is a really good question. And here's where experience, and it's deeper than trust, because if I've learned anything about the markets in the last 20 years, it is that they are statistically probable. Now, it's not research that I am doing but there are really good, literally teams of people. We're talking like hundreds of people per company that do this for a living. It's what they do, like 40 to 60, 80 hours a week, all of them working hard with those crazy good brains who math is what they do. Okay. You talk about math, there is a place for math and it's beautiful. And what people don't talk about with the markets is that they are a reflection of human nature. They are a reflection of what humans think about the world. And as such, we're predictable. They know that when the Bank of Canada raises the rate, ABC is going to happen. It is predictable. There's stats. The teams have been doing this for literally 100 years. And so they can account for that in the investing and how much cash they have and what they're doing. And that, my friend, it's a science. It's an art. It's a science. And there are people who are really good at this. I did, in my illustrious career, work for a short amount of time with a hedge fund company. And I tell you, the people that do this, they make it look easy. I kid you not. I'm sitting in the room and I'm having these conversations and I'm like, it makes complete sense. And then I walk out the door and I meet my other friends and I'm like, I don't know what I just heard, because they made it look easy. It's knowing that everybody has a place and a thing that they do. Mm-hmm. There are brilliant, beautiful people who make the stock market look easy. And it is, you guys, it's a science. It's an art, and it is predictable statistically. Nobody's perfect. The volatility is because people change their minds. People do different things. There are no guarantees in life, and the stock market will prove that. But there are also strong predictors, and your risk tolerance will decide which type of investments you make. As you said, conservative versus, growth portfolios, it makes a difference. And that is part of your peace of mind. Your peace of mind is how much of that risk, how much of that volatility do you want to see in your portfolio? Mm-hmm. And then you have to know that they will do what you're supposed to do.
And then you do have to trust them to do what their jobs are, right? And I don't know. I believe that you do have to trust people. I've had so many scenarios though where like my luggage was missing. And someone was like, if we did our job properly, then it'll show up tomorrow at your destination. And it doesn't, right? So then you're like, "Urgh." And when it comes to money, I think, okay, so when you were explaining like the hedge fund guys, right? And they're like, it's just way over my head. I remember taking a finance class in university, and we each got this like $5,000 to invest in the stock market. And whoever had the most money at the end of the term won some kind of prize, which I don't even remember because I knew I wasn't going to really play, right? Like, I'm not interested in this. And so it's not my forte. I bought a whole bunch of stock in like Disney and Hershey. And that was the start. I'm like, these guys are pretty confident that these guys aren't going anywhere. So they'll be fine. And I think I had pretty much the same amount of money that I started with. And we know this about me, or I know this about me. I am a conservative investor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really interesting. But when you were talking about the hedge fund guys, what it was speaking to me was like chess players, right? So like there's predictable things that happen in the game of chess, and people who are master chess players know the patterns. They pay attention and they like study the patterns, right? And if you're a stockbroker and you study the market, that's what you know. I don't know that because that sounds terrible to me. If I had to study the market, I probably would, like, I'd rather go be a barista at Starbucks. This is just...
Tracy, that's a good point, though. That is a great point. They are like the good thing, though, about chess, about the market versus chess, is it is it's not a game, because there isn't anybody that you're against, but there are ways of predicting what's going to happen. We've been in business. Business has been happening for hundreds and hundreds of years. The stock market, not quite so much, but it's still been around for 100 years. And people are always going to change their minds. The inflation is going to change. There's going to be factors that weigh on it. And so really what you need to do is decide how much you're going to look at it, because it's how comfortable you are. There are people who want to know what their stocks are doing tomorrow, or yesterday. You got only look back, and so they look every day or every other day, and that is great. If you're a conservative investor, I would suggest that you look every 6 months, every year, because in the things in life that you are comfortable with, that's not high. And knowing that about yourself is a great way to contribute to your financial peace of mind. If you're putting away your $200 a month into the funds that you have had a really in-depth conversation, you've looked at the how, the why, they fit your values. You know that the companies that your money is going into fits with who you are and who your family is, and it fits with your cash flow. It's the time value of money. If it doesn't go up, it's going to go down. That's going to happen. You cannot, nobody I know can literally time it 100%. But a lot of really good fund managers, and they do research. So it's not that they're guessing, okay, this is going to go this way. It's probability. It's looking at the business plans. It's looking at all of that stuff. Businesses are predictable on their own right. Things like COVID is a perfect example. Nobody saw it coming, so down it went. Well, if you've panicked and taken your money out at the bottom, you would have missed the jump that went even higher. So it's riding out and not looking when you don't want to look. And if you want to look, great, but know what you're looking at.
I think this is a super interesting point, because I would say that not looking at how often my money goes up and down in my portfolio is a huge contributor to my financial peace of mind. Because if you're like, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, because this is what the market does, right? Like, it fluctuates. That's what it does. And if I look at it once a year, right? Like, I get my annual statement, and I look at my annual statement, and almost always, because I have a conservative portfolio, it is up. at the end of the year. And I look at it and I'm like, wow, if I would have looked at this like 3 months ago, it would have made me really stressed out because it was down. And I don't like, I myself, like, I don't know what I own, right? Like, I have a diversified portfolio. My financial advisor manages it, right? Or like, I actually think there's a team. I have mine through RBC. So like, I think there's a team at RBC that just like manages that and keeps it balanced, right? Yeah. And like, I trust them to do that. And so far, they have proven that they have done a good job. So I keep my money in that portfolio.
There we go. And the other truth is over time, like, because again, the time value of money is that it grows in time. It's not going to grow and then not. The market has grown over time and will quite likely to, whether it'll continue to grow up as fast as it is. There are so many ways that you can look at that. I choose to think that it's probably going to stagnate a little bit, but it's not going to go to zero. And everybody's portfolio across the way is going to be there. You know, I'm not a doomsdayer. I'm not. And I believe that doing part of it here and part of it there and knowing what your comfort level is key. You know, and there's no judgment on the risk tolerance that you have, but you have to know the risk tolerance of you. And your risk tolerance is going to be a component of so many factors, right? You know, how much of your cash how much time do you need, time value, between now and when you retire, right? In your 30s, 40s, even 50s, your risk tolerance is going to be different than in your 70s. Because your time is not the same. You don't have, like, you're in a different, your money is a different function, and it's going to be in different portfolios in the time. So just having that conversation year after year after year, it will adjust as it needs to. So the other piece of the financial peace of mind is knowing that your plan is sound and trusting the plan that you helped build. You, Tracy, get to chat with your person and say, hey, professional, this is what I want to do. This is how much money I want. How do I get there? And she is going to run the numbers. There's an app for that. Trust me, we have the software, and we are not alone. There's a software for that will say, here's what you need to do today. To get X, you need to put in Y. And then you decide, does Y work? How are you going to adjust your cash flow? What's that going to look like? It is a plan. It's not a one day you sit down and say, okay, this is all I need. And you're going to talk about it year after year because it's going to change. You know, or you're going to want a new car suddenly. Maybe yes, maybe no. You know, the financial picture is more than just the markets. It is everything that you are doing. It's knowing whether you want to give RESP contributions to your nieces or whether you're just going to give them a stuffy. Right? That's part of your financial peace of mind. How are you contributing? What are you doing? What? So Ryan is my executive director, and he gave me this quote when I was first looking at different spots to be in the industry. And he told me finances are 95% value and 5% math. And when I heard that, I knew that, and I'm like, that works for me. Because it's true. Whatever you value is going to show up in your finances. And how you feel about your finances is going to contribute to the math, because whether you're conservative or growth or all of that, it all fits. You know, if you pay real attention and you have good discipline, how much tax you pay is going to be impacted by that, because you're not just going to look at it once a year and do that. You're going to have put together a plan that takes care of your taxes, so there's more of a refund, blah, blah, blah. it's part of your plan. And there's more than just your advisor, your professional in that plan. You should have a team of professionals that know each other that are doing that, because it's peace of mind. It's you take care of your money, and your money will take care of you. Back to that cash flow piece. Sorry.
What I really love, no, I think this is great, because this is the direction that I wanted to go, because I just really want to share about how, like, the statement you made was, know that your plan is sound. And I think that one of the words that we miss out on the importance in that sentence is your plan, right? It's not a plan. It's not a financial plan. It's your financial plan. And it's not your financial plan if your values are not reflected in the financial plan. And so I want to share a personal story with you guys, because in my first marriage, I was actually married to a banker, and who by default I thought would be good with money because he was a banker, and this was not true, but that's a different story. But we had a financial plan, right? Like through his bank and all of these things. And I never felt peace of mind with it, ever. And we had, like, at one point we owned 3 properties, and we lived in one and rented out 2, right? And so, like, the cash flow was good, and all of these, like, we checked a lot of those boxes. But when I look at it now, the problem that I have, the reason I didn't have peace of mind, is because it wasn't my plan. It was investing into a bunch of, like, investment properties, and that was never something that I wanted to do, right? Like, I understood it from a financial perspective. I understood it as a good investment, and I never cared about it. It never meant anything to me. It always felt heavy. It always felt just bad. It wasn't for me, right? And it's because it wasn't my plan. This wasn't my plan I was living out. And then once I, like, we got divorced and sold all the properties, and then I was just like, oh my gosh, look at how much money I have, because we're not paying for 3 different mortgages. But it was just really interesting, because then the first time that I had who is now moved on financial planner, like, the first thing she asked me was, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't even know if I know how to answer that question, because I haven't explored that for me. And it was really interesting to watch how it changed over time, because there were different things that were important to me, and there were different things that created peace of mind before I was a parent, right? And then all of a sudden I was a parent, and I was like, okay, one of the things that's really important to me is that if I die, that our house gets paid off. So, like, that is one of the insurances that I have, so that I can feel like that's my contribution. I feel good about that. I am not a financial advisor, you guys. I'm not here to recommend that is the thing that you should all choose, but that is a thing that feels right for me. And there might be people who are be like, that's a bad investment, blah, blah, blah. And it feels right for me. So because it feels right for me, it contributes to my peace of mind. But if it doesn't feel right for you, it doesn't contribute to your peace of mind. So I really wanted to, like, have this second half of the conversation really focus on those values, and, like, translating your values into your financial plan, so that because I think that's necessary even to attempt to have peace of mind.
Absolutely. And so, again, like you said, the fundamentals are, we're going to stick, I guess, sounds like a lot into cash flow. And I would argue, if I meet somebody on the street and I say, what would it take for you to have financial peace of mind? Most people are going to give me a dollar figure.
Yeah.
$1 million, or, whatever that number is going to be. But truly, that number, if I handed them $1 million, how they spent that $1 million, where that money goes, is going to be on your values. So, are you going to give it all to your family? There's no end in possibilities, and that is where the abundance comes back. that is where it's trusting yourself in this plan as much as your person. Because your person is going to do what you ask her to do.
That's true. And that's what I mean. Like, if you don't use your values in creating your plan, like, your financial advisor will go and execute your plan, right? And if your plan isn't infused with who you are and what matters to you, then it doesn't matter. Like, and then that's not really fair for the financial professionals, you guys, because then you lack that. You can't build that trust because you haven't actually given them a platform on which to build trust. You've just given them something that, like, it's just not yours.
The other piece to that is you have to trust you. In that conversation around your plan, there is, well, if you've got a family of 4, there's actually 5 people in that conversation, right? There's yourself, there's your partner, and then each child has a piece that is going to be part of the cash flow. It's going to be part of the consideration as you look into, we'll call it succession planning, but what's going to happen down the road. If you have a business, which you do, you have a great business, is one of your children going to follow you into that business? Is one going to run off and be an artist? Is one, like, that is part of the plan that you put together. And when the kids are really little, you're not going to necessarily know exactly what details are going into what, right?
Nicholas's financial plan would be like, how many ceiling fans can I buy?
Which is actually almost as important as how much gummy bears he can buy.
Like, he would totally buy a ceiling fan before. Like, he would save up his pennies to buy a ceiling fan and not eat any candy for a year. This is just his preference. But that's the point.
And I was about to say that. We need to talk to our kids about that money, because when the conversation is a conversation, when it's you and me having a conversation, your true self comes into it. Your true what matters to you comes into the conversation. And then you can tease out how that works into your plan. I would argue that the first person you should be having this conversation with is your spouse, right?
Sounds
and
fair.
Making sure that you're on the same page, making sure that whether you're investing in real estate or investing in Tesla, you're having that conversation. What is, like, even what your next car is going to be? Is it, what does your family need? What helps in that budget? What helps in that peace of mind? And convenience is a choice, right? It is an important choice. I think one of the greatest things a family can do when they're really looking at prioritizing financial peace of mind, first thing that I suggest you do is 60 days of writing down every penny you spent. Every penny. Not just, and if you take cash out of the cash machine, where does that cash go? Then you look at it, and what does it say? You have that. My husband Kurt and I had a very interesting conversation the first time we did this. We were new in our relationship, and it was eye-opening, and it really cemented that we were on the same page, which was a good thing. But because it was kind of late at that point. But anyways, you can do that, and then you see, oh, we do this together. When you see McDonald's on your list of expenses, please don't see that as groceries. See that as convenience.
Very important to know your categories.
Right? And the more detailed you are and the more specific you are, the more your values and what's important to you, and maybe it's just a way of saying what's important to you comes out. Convenience isn't necessarily a value.
Right.
But it's a true reflection of where your time is going. Right? So having that balance. And I love to have that conversation with people. You talk about money, that conversation after that they've looked at their expenses and what all the categories are, even just what the categories are. If you really want to do a deep dive into it, there is a great book called Your Life or Your Money. And I don't have it with me, because I'm not at home right now. I'm living my value of freedom, and I am on vacation with my sister in Penticton for Ironman. Go, Naomi, go. And I don't have the book, but it is Your Money, your money or your life. And it goes through in infinite detail all the pieces that get to the value and the bottom of what's important to you. That's choice two. If 60 days is not enough, if you really want to do a deep dive, that book will do it for you.
John seems to know that he needs $1 billion. And I'm not sure if that's true or if he's making fun of the fact that Nicholas said that you need 1 billion minutes to make a conversation authentic. $1 billion would be nice, but it's really interesting to even think about that, right? Because when I think about my values and how I want to live, if someone was like, here's $1 billion, I would be like, okay, like most of that is just going into the bank to just wait. Although I have this my big idea, you guys, are you ready? Because this is the goal of me making money, is to create programming for children in the foster care system to learn about personal branding, because I feel like they are taught that they have no value, and I need to, for whatever reason, I feel like I need to break that, because every human has value, and I want to remind them that they do. And this is where, like, quite honestly, all my money would go into creating programming like that. But it's interesting, right? Because it's not the right thing to choose. It's not
it is the right thing to choose.
For me.
It is right? The right thing to choose.
Yeah, for me, not for everybody.
But here's the thing. The only one who can impact your financial peace of mind is you. And probably your husband. Because he can make a mistake that you might judge it a mistake. He would be quite happy with the choice. You guys need to be on the same page to make sure you and your partner, because there's some definite legalities that tie those two together.
Even like small things, like my husband, he signed up for the, like, I don't know if you guys have the native deodorant. It's like all natural and things, and he signed up for this, just like they deliver us this like deodorant once a month, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. How much does it cost? And then it was like, what? You can go to Walmart and buy it if you need it. Anyways, fun facts. My husband would be terrified by the amount of things that the internet knows about him, because I stare at him on shows like this. But yeah, John is saying, yes, ceiling fans. Ceiling fans is something on Nicholas's list for sure. But I think it's a really great example, you guys, is that, like, is investing in ceiling fans the right way to spend your money? Maybe not. But when you are familiar enough with what you value, where you get value from money, right? I had a coach once, actually, who she asked the question, what are the things you do that make you feel rich? And it was a really interesting question, because I had never thought about it before. And the two things that came up for me was Starbucks and also would be like becoming poor because of all the Starbucks that I drink, but also pedicures, right? Like when I'm getting a pedicure, I just feel like I'm rich. And so, like, this year on my birthday, I took the day off and I did a bunch of things. I went for sushi and all these things, but I went for a pedicure. And I was like, it's not free, no, but does it cost an insane amount of money? No. And I have that moment of feeling like I appreciate what I did with this money, right? And I think that that's really where the peace of mind comes from, when you can look at, and I really love that you shared that exercise, Marcia, about like just tracking what's outgoing, because, and I would challenge you guys to do that with your time as well. Like the time you're spending on things, because you'll learn the same type of information. Like, what are the things you're spending money on that feel like they have value to you?
Mhm.
What are the things you're spending money on that don't feel like they have value to you? What are the things you're spending your time on that feel like they have value to you? What are the things you're spending your time on that feel like don't have value? And these are the types of things that lead to peace of mind instead of just having paying bills, right? Having a list of to-dos you need to check off, right? Like, this is where we start to move into the peace of mind, and we can start to realize for ourselves, not for someone else. And like Marcia said, having that knowledge about your spouse is good, but it's still a different person than you, right?
Yes.
Knowing that about yourself is, dare I say it, Marcia, the first step in finding financial peace of mind.
Yeah. And it's true, because that's going to show up in your cash flow. It's going to show up in, sorry to beat a dead horse. But back to what you said about feeling rich. Abundance is different from rich, because there isn't a dollar value on abundance. And you can find moments of joy in a pedicure. And really, who cares what your bank balance is if you're joyful? And the more you do things that bring you joy and peace, because they're both. You don't want to just, run off and only get pedicures because you have great feet and you're
And I live in Canada, so half the year my feet are in boots.
But you could still know that you have good feet.
True.
I'm gonna plug that.
But just in the shower every day, see my beautiful toes.
What brings you joy is the question. And when your time, little time, as well as your financial abundance goes to what brings you and your family joy, you can then spread it and it will grow, and that is why I do what I do, is because I get to help people find that abundance, and know that there is peace in that, and knowing that who wouldn't like $1 million? But with where you are right now, you can find those moments of joy. You can find that abundance in your budget and your plan to have joy just where you are today. And it doesn't have to be a new yacht. It can be new toes.
Not completely new toes, just newly painted toenails.
New.
Although my toes are mostly destroyed from playing basketball, so someone give me new toes. We consider that. But I think you guys, and I don't know, maybe it's the Canadian in me coming out, but if you guys haven't heard the song "If I Had $1 Million" by the Bare Naked Ladies, he goes through and he says all of these things, which I'm pretty sure will add up to more than $1 million if you actually bought all of them. But there's this one point where they're like, if I had $1 million, we wouldn't have to eat craft dinner, but we would eat craft dinner. Of course we would. We'd just eat more, and we'd get really expensive ketchup for it. And it's like, you can buy a fur coat, or you can buy more craft dinner because that's what you feel like you want to do, right? So anyway, listen to the song. It's a fun song if you don't know it, but you can find it on the internets around. But before we wrap up here today, Marcia, because there's some comments from earlier just about how, like, financial education, right? And about how we can talk to kids about this. And John was saying, actually, John and I were talking about this yesterday, how financial planning and home economics should be mandatory. Mark was sharing that it's actually happening in some schools where he's from. Mark, I'm not sure where you're from. But this is awesome, right? And I think the power of conversation about making these types of conversations, making this type of information available to people. So, Marcia, if people are interested in staying in the conversation and learning more about the conversation, specifically Marcia is in Canada, you guys. So I know we have some Americans in the chat. So the American financial system is separate. But like, where's some places where people can find more information and support from you, and what are some of the resources that you love in terms of helping people kind of get this harness on what's their value for money?
or no, what is money, the value of money to them?
To them. Okay, sure. You're right.
So
Mark is in Saskatoon. Saskatoon, doing it right.
yes.
Go Saskatchewan.
Yes. I would, so the value, the four fundamentals are going to be the same whether you're in the States or in Canada. And that's on rlaexperiorfinancial.ca. I will find it in a minute and put it in the chat. That being said, all of the planning needs to be done with your person, with your financial professional. Again, for your peace of mind, to make sure that, or if you're good at it and you're doing all your, some people like to do their own piece. I believe
if someone had to tell me I had to do my own taxes anymore, I'd be like, no. Just, there are tax professionals, right? I have no interest in being a tax professional. I'm gonna let the tax professionals handle my taxes, let my accountant handle my government GST. I don't want to do it.
Like I said, there's people for that. Talk to your people. And what I'm saying and how I'm saying it is my way of doing it. And your person will talk to you and they will say essentially the same thing I've just said, but they will know your plan. They will know you and they will know what that looks like for you. So yes, talk to your person, talk to your people, your tax person, your investment person, your insurance person. Hopefully some of those are the same and hopefully they all know each other. Because, and then do the work to know yourself, to know your values, not your value, your values. And your net worth is important, but it's not who you are. And so that financial peace of mind is part of your full peace of mind. And when I'm talking with people about abundance and that peace of mind that comes from knowing who you are and where you fit in this world, because of my profession, financial peace of mind is an easy place to start because people get that. They know there's money, they know this, they know that. But who you are is going to fit into all of those. And so doing that work as well, and honoring who you are and honoring when you're making your plan that it is you that is making that plan and you are part of that conversation. Even when you're having it with your spouse, say, yeah, maybe you need to go to Osoyoos and Penticton for 3 weeks this summer because that's where you're called to be. And you're meeting really interesting people and you're having great conversations online because thank God for the internet.
That's true. Or we would not be having any of these conversations,
right?
Actually.
And part of the cool part about what I do is, and part of why I've chosen the industry I have, is because freedom is what I love to do. And I can work in so many ways from so many different places. Yes, there is meeting face to face. You and I just had this conversation. There is something special in that, and it should be part of it, but it's not all of it. So knowing where you need to be when you need to be is important. So I have chosen something that allows me to be in Penticton while I'm having this conversation with you. And my husband and my family are in Calgary, and we chat, and they're happy that I'm not there organizing things. And
I'm going to be in Kelowna in a week and a half, and I'm very excited about it. Yes. Canadian wine country, for those of you who don't know. But I think that, like, yeah, for those of you who know me, I talk a lot about the permission to do you, right? And I think it's so important in this conversation, looking at like, what do you want to spend your money on, and not comparing it to other people, because other people are going to choose to spend their money in different ways, to save their money in different ways, right? And not judging yourself and saying like, that's the one right way to do it, because that might be right for that person and it might work great for them, and it isn't in alignment with your values, and that's fine. And that doesn't mean there's something wrong with your values and that you should be more like that. Keeping up with the the Joneses. Is that what we
Mhm.
used to call it?
Yeah.
But
There's no
you
peace
don't
of
have
mind
to.
in that.
Yeah. I mean, like, I wouldn't find peace of mind in that. And that's not in alignment with who I am and what I care about in the world. Right. So, like, I just wanted to leave you all with that, is that it's not about it being the same as someone else's or about their one specific financial plan being the thing that's right for all people. Knowing your values and then going into your financial planning with confidence in your values and knowing, because that's what's going to allow the plan to support the values. If you don't have clarity in the values, the plan can't support it. You might get lucky, but like, it's not being intentional. So let's be intentional based on our values. And that is such a this is the thing I hope you guys take away from today in terms of creating financial peace of mind. Marcia, if people want to connect with you, where's the best place for them to find you?
LinkedIn works. Yeah, absolutely.
LinkedIn. Or if you want to wander around BC wine country, you might find her as well.
3 wineries this week.
I was talking to my dad because we're going for my mother-in-law's 65th birthday. So like the whole family, like my whole family and my husband's whole family are going.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, someone told me once that you can do only 5, like maximum 5 wineries in a day. And I will tell you from personal experience, that 6th winery, you will just buy wine because it's wine. You don't know anymore the quality. And then you'll get home and you'll be like, why did we buy this? This is not very good. So yes, my advice on a completely different note is 5 wineries is the most you can do in one day. And I have every intention of doing 5 wineries at least 3 times in Kelowna, because there's too many good wineries, you guys. Anyway, again, different conversation. Thank you, Marcia, so much for all of your knowledge that you shared with us today. Thank you, Mark, John, Tegan, and Leslie, who joined us live in the comments. As you guys know, I am a firm believer that the conversation would not be what it is without you. So thank you so much for getting in the conversation. The other thing you might know about me, if you've seen me on any of these lives before, is that I believe that in order to make progress in an arena, we need to stay in the conversation. And so connect with Marcia, connect with the other people who are in the chat, who are clearly also in the conversation, and stay in the conversation. If you're like, I don't have financial peace of mind right now, and I want to have financial peace of mind, don't let it be a one conversation thing. I promise. I said this at the beginning, right? Like, you're not going to just listen and then have financial peace of mind at the end of this. That's not how it works. It is about an exploration, exploring your values, exploring how those values are living in your financial planning. And we are here for it. So if you guys are looking for peeps to have conversations with, please connect and stay in the conversation. Oh, Ellen snuck in right at the end there. Yes, Ellen, connect and stay in the conversation. This is how we make progress. And also it's a little bit more fun, right? Doing it with people instead of just doing it in our heads. In our heads can be really hard sometimes. So thank you guys so much for all of your contributions to the conversation today. And until next time, permission to do you, everybody.